Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom number 238. The gang's all here with Don and Lenny and Lef and Mike and John and Wayne and Jeremy and Garth and Phil and other people. Let's talk slot cars. Before we get started, just want to apologize to everybody out there for me being out of power last week. I actually got messages, people wondering, was there a show? What's the problem? I was out of power. So if you missed all the posts where I put the link to the recording, because John stepped in to host and Jeremy stepped in to record, the most of 2 hours of their chat is on Jeremy's channel. I put it on the Worldwide Slot Car Chat playlist. So if you go to my channel and look at playlists, go to the Worldwide Slot Car Chat, it's on there. Or go to any of all the places that I post the link to the YouTube video and a Slot Car Chat, and it's there too. So if you missed it, that's on you at this point. So, good show, definitely worth watching if you didn't already see it. So make sure you spend some time doing that. Otherwise, let's get started with some show and tell. So anybody who wants to show and or tell, raise your hand. I'll do a show and tell. It's kind of a club corner, but it's a show and tell, so I'll just do it this way. We'll do it now. We'll do it live. Sharing my screen. Going to this. Okay, so I'm sure I've talked about this track before. Went and raced here a couple of times. This is called Mission Mile. As you see, it's a gargantuan 4-lane Carrera track, 2 of which are digital. And they run 4-lane analog or 2-lane digital. But I thought you would be interested to see, if you didn't already notice in this picture, the cables running up from the table to the ceiling. Figured I'd show you what it looks like when it's on the ceiling. There it is. So he's got secure cables. So after it's raised up, he hooks some security cables on, and it's got lighting underneath. People who don't know the slot car track is there suspect nothing. They use this community room at the church that this is at. They don't think anything of this. They don't even look at the ceiling for the most part. But even if they did look at the ceiling, they probably have no idea that there's a big old slot car track under there. And club corner wise, last Friday I went and raced, and this was where I placed in their IROC analog, where we ran slot at Group C, non-mag on that track. And Guapo is a pretty good racer, so I'm proud to be second to Guapo. The other guys are pretty good too, but we raced, it was crash and burn, so I'm familiar with that kind of racing anyways, so that definitely helped me out.
Is El Guapo the most handsome guy in the club? Because El Guapo means the handsome one.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I mean, he's a guy, maybe. Of the people there, maybe.
The heck of a nickname to pick, that's all I'm saying. Wow.
Well, maybe he was given that name. Maybe he chose that name. I don't know. I've never asked him about it. I didn't even know that's what it meant. But I will next time find out how he came to be having that name.
All right.
Anywho, that's it for me for show and tell and club corner. So who's next? I don't see any hands. Does anybody want to wave their hand? Oh, there's one from Jeremy. Go ahead, Jeremy.
All right. So working on slotted guides, I've managed to break the tip of this guy, or this wing. So it was time to make hard rubber ones. Again, flexible so they don't break, and then they fit onto the same spot as the normal one. The only difference on this one is I don't really like the look of this wing. This has always bugged me, so I made these optional so you can take off and then have just a flat wing instead. So that was my project for the week. And then since I was halfway there, I thought I'd do one for the Nissan as well. Same kind of thing. So anyway, flexible, then bend and don't break. That's my show and tell. Not much, but
Jeremy,
that's awesome.
Sorry. When you replicate an ABS wing with your TPU material, how do they come out comparing their relative weights?
Yeah, so one thing I try to do is when I first get them done, they're usually a little lighter than the real wing. but that's because I don't do as many nooks, crannies, and like they have to replicate the original, whereas I just have to make it look good at speed. So
Yeah.
then, so then I usually add in some support struts and try to get the weight similar, and then match up the weight. So I've got a little gram calculator here. So like on the bottom of this one here, let me see. On the bottom of this one here, you can see those struts I put in there.
A couple of reinforcing ribs.
Yeah, to keep it from kind of floating. But once I added those, then the weight matched the OEM one. So I was like, okay, well that's good enough for me. Now I know like competitive racers would be looking for the lightest, in which case I could put, hexagon holes in it and trim it up and make it super, super leggero.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. So.
No, good.
Yeah, good stuff.
At least they're not heavy.
No, not at all. I'm trying to match. I don't want to give myself a disadvantage by being cheap. I'd rather have, the same weight and everything.
Are those going to be unjaded parts like the other stuff, or?
I don't know. I don't know. I think they look so stupid sometimes with the. I don't know. They just don't look as cool. Oh, look at that! Phil's made his own. Phil, how dare you?
You inspired me, mate.
Hold it up again. Hold it up again, Phil.
All right, let me get it in the camera.
There we go.
It's not very good. That's the first attempt.
Yeah, TPU.
TPU's tough.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
And it's hard to trim up.
Yeah.
But that's for a fly March that we're going to be racing in January. So I had a couple here with broken wings. So Jeremy's inspired me to have a crack. So, yeah, I'll have another go this afternoon. See how I go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You're welcome.
And I was going to say, Slotted used to include, for the
tear-proof. They made tear-proof ones on the bottom.
Yeah, but they weren't
break-proof.
But they were like black. They were just as ugly as your plain black TPU.
Yeah,
I know, but that's why I never understood why it said tear-proof, but you could still break them. It's like, what is tear-proof about it? Sideways is the only company that does it right, but they don't include theirs in the box. So.
I don't think Sideways even gets it right. I've had several Sideways wings, and they're out of shape out of the packet. You constantly trying to bend them back into shape. They never regain. I haven't tried hot water on them or anything, but I've had them that permanently stay bent just because they've been transported.
Put them in the position that you want them to be, and then stick them in your hot car for the day, like on the dash, and then they'll go back to where they're supposed to be.
So you're saying I've got 2 or 3 opportunities per annum to actually straighten my wings?
Absolutely, you can do that. Schedule those 3 days in advance because you only get 3 chances at it.
Or a heat gun, or even a hair dryer that gets hot enough.
Might work.
Well, I'm doing it. I'm thinking for a long, slow heat is what you want.
Yeah,
over a long period of time. Because you just hit it quick, you're gonna hit certain parts that are getting hot, and the other parts are getting cold. So your mileage may vary.
I'm sure Wayne can come up with something if he really.
The one I've got at the moment, I'm happy enough with, but it isn't the first one on the car.
Yeah.
Take him with you when you go for a holiday to Spain, Wayne.
I'm sorry?
Take him with you when you go for a holiday to Spain.
Yeah. Costa del wing straightening.
All right, what you got, Garth?
I got a little bit of a update on my pod and suspension stuff I've been doing. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep.
This is a couple of Nomad cars that I made a while back with the first version of the single spine pod was and I hadn't really done anything with the rotating pod, so I decided that, I'm going to put a rotating pod in this and see see how they go. And so on this one, that's what I did. Okay. And that's what it looks like. Okay. And, fit right in there. No problem. Okay. And it goes, it goes way better than what was in there. And that was the original torsional pod. Okay. That was in there, or the one, this one has a big round cylinder of tungsten in it, okay? But this is how this is the original configuration, and the rotating pod is considerably faster than this. This was good, but not as good as the rotating pod. Okay, and that's the current configuration of the pod, rotating pod, is lugs, the mounting lugs are cut off 1 millimeter, okay, and there's a 1 millimeter red silicone foam washer, okay, that Jeremy laser cut for me. And then the soup du jour on the top right now today is a 1 millimeter solid silicone black washer, and this seems to be the fastest version of these. You know, and I've tried the silicone foam on the top and 1 millimeter on the top and the bottom, and it's good, and it's a little less stiff than this one, but this is the best configuration, okay, with the foam underneath, 1 millimeter foam underneath, and the 1 millimeter solid silicone on the top. And seems to be the best way to go with it. And this is kind of across the board on all the test cars that are coming out to using this, okay? And we've tried all different kinds of versions of both the silicone foam and the silicone solid. Okay, we've got a 0.5 millimeter, 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter of all different sizes.
What's on your silicone tires there, Garth?
What?
What's on the surface of your silicone tires there? Is it wear or is it just dust?
That's just dust. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this car has got the Formula One wheels on it. Okay, aluminum CB design Formula One 14.4 wheels, both on the front and the back, and they're really wide tires on it, and it goes pretty good. Okay, and then at the end of this, there's I got a bunch of pictures. Here's a picture of this is more or less all of the sans this car here. Forget this one here. This does have a rotating pod in it, but it's not, I wouldn't call it a test car. The rest of these cars here are all equally, you know, both set up exactly the same. They both have, you know, these two Ferraris, two Lancias, two Ferrari 330s, and two Nissans. All of them have the rotating motor pod, SLS nylon. All of them have SLS nylon wheels with the aluminum hubs on them, and all of them have the SLS nylon outlog guides on them. And that's what they look like underneath. So, and all the motors are stock, either current, these white ones are the kind of current, more current slot.it motor, 23K stock motor. And
MX-16, that one's called.
And the orange one, I don't know, not sure what it is. I think it's either it might be 18 or 20. Okay, but some of these orange ones are 12, 15 years old. Okay, so if I don't, you know, I think both of these are orange, and the rest of them have the newer white ones in there. Very similar. I mean, I could put that white motor in there and you'd have a tough time you know, arguing it was faster or slower. And I think actually I think they might be 21K. I've never actually measured them. I probably should measure them. And but anyways, that's kind of what I've been doing. So
good stuff. Thanks for the update. So are those on a site for purchase anywhere yet?
no.
Why not? I don't want it as a legit answer. I just don't want, that's a legitimate answer.
Lack of a good vendor. Okay, good print vendor, basically, you know.
Oh, for supply.
Yeah, it's sort of like, well, I've had two vendors, okay, and the one that I lost, I don't know how I lost it, but it went away off of Craft Cloud, okay, and they were absolutely superb. I mean, just everything they did was spot on good. And the second vendor, okay, that I'm using now, I've got some pods. I've got quite a lot of pods, but they're just a little under spec, okay, from what I'd really like them to be, I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong, they're probably even good enough to sell, but it's just, I was waiting for, to get a good vendor to buy a big bunch of them, okay, so, but I mean, if somebody wanted one, okay, I would sell one, okay. You'd have to arrange it with me, and, because I've got a little bit of a stock of them, so. And Mike's got one, so I don't know, Mike, you could probably get one off Mike, he doesn't do anything with it,
One of
that's
the hard one of the hard things to do when you're sending this stuff out, like you get it perfect where you want it, and you send it to a vendor who has the professional equipment, and you're expecting like 0.6 millimeters, and it comes in at 0.69, and like, well, now my tolerance, it turns, but it doesn't turn like I'd expected it to, but it's within their tolerance, but it's not within our tolerance as small as these parts are. So it's just, I think that's why I mean, it's rough just because you never know what you're going to get. Even with a good vendor, they might have a day where the shrinkage factor is, too much, but for us, but fine for them. That's the eternal struggle right now.
Yeah. And it's a constantly developing marketplace for your supplier, isn't it? There's always new ones popping up and older ones disappearing and different offers and things. Yeah.
And weather, I'm sure, heat, humidity, all that stuff affects their printing too.
I think it'll get better as time goes by with SLS printers and stuff, and don't get me wrong, one of the hallmarks of trying to do a 3D printed part is you have to design into the technology, so you have to, and this is true of the motor pod, okay, of the rotating pod. It can stand slight variations because it's designed that way. Okay, it's just that, it becomes a problem when you order X amount and you get your order, and then you order more and you get from the same vendor and you get something that's different than the first time. So, I mean, you know what I mean? If you can't even really count on getting parts, from one batch to the next, okay, and that's where, and
Yeah.
if you're gonna sell them, they gotta be good, you know what I mean, so.
I mean, that's one of the reasons injection molding is still doing well, because it's way more consistent. It's a lot more expensive to get going, but cheap by the numbers and consistent.
Well, I think it's more for the SLS printing, from my experience, it's more, there isn't enough vendors out there, okay? The people that are doing it in real high-tech industries and stuff where they make a shitload of money doing a couple of prototypes and stuff, and it's not like, there isn't enough of it out there. It's kind of like when 3D printing was first started, okay? So I think it's going to get better as time goes by. Example, Area 71. I mean, Jesus Christ, those guys went out and bought a bunch of big hooty-dooty, awesome SLS printing machines that, and everything they do is just absolutely spot on. So we need more Area 71 guys out there, I guess,
Have you had anything manufactured using the MJF technology yet, Joe?
Yeah, and it's good. It's just as good. It's slightly it's the claim is that it's slightly better from a dimensional standpoint, okay? But again, okay, this is just from my experience, okay? It depends on who's doing it, okay? You know what I mean? I have had some MJF pods that were just spot on my CAD file, just right on it, okay? And I've had them that weren't, okay, you know what I mean? I've had SLS printers, printed pods that were spot on the CAD file, okay? And I've had some that weren't, so it's just not, you know, it's who's operating the machine. There's still more, more to the setup and the, probably the atmosphere around the machine and the, you know, the operator of the machine and the technology.
It might even be orientation, the way they put the part in the machine, because I remember they can put them any direction, can't they?
That, you know, 6 of one, half dozen of another. So,
Yeah.
like I said, the last version of that, I ordered of the rotating pod. Okay, the CAD file and the rotating pod now has a 1 millimeter cut on it, so I don't have to cut the pods off. Okay,
Yeah.
there's 1 millimeter underneath the lugs is, and so what I did is I cut, or I changed the file so that the lugs are 1 millimeter short on the bottom and added it onto the top. So, and so it's the same length and everything, but the last guy that did them, you know, they were not quite as good as the perfect guy, but hey, I ordered 6 pods and I ended up getting 12. So I don't want to complain, you know what I mean? All of a sudden it turned, you know, something that was, I wasn't real happy with the pricing on, to something that was like, holy shit.
Did they do a rerun on the whole batch?
But again, I'm back in the hole of like, well, what the fuck do I do now? Do I say, do I order 6 more to get 12? Am I going to get 12 the next time, or what the hell? So I guess it might be even worth me trying.
Did you make 12 just off the bat, or did you actually have to contact him about a problem, and then they said, oh, we'll just make the whole thing again?
No. I got 12. I ordered 6 and got 12.
Okay.
So, and
to
my knowledge, as best as I can tell, is that they're all right at spot on. Okay, as far as what they did. Okay, they're just slightly undersized as far as dimensional stuff goes, but they still work good. I got 2 of them are in a couple of those test cars. Okay, and they, you know, I'm really picking. I think, you know, even me complaining about it, I might be picking shit with the chickens a little bit. So, you know, I mean, they're pretty good. So I was spoiled, but the one place that I got prints from, it was called Open 3D Print, and I have no idea. It was like a company that was a company of a company of a company, or some damn thing. Okay, and they were just incredible. Okay, I mean, it was like, holy shit, I can't believe they printed the parts that good.
Well, hopefully we find some more information about a possible sale on that when you finally get a manufacturer you're happy with, or finally decide it's good enough. You'll let us know, I'm sure.
That's why their parts are jaded.
Yeah. One other thing I might mention is on the SLS full chassis. Okay, all right. I've been goofing around with that. You know, I'm back sort of goofing around with that a little bit. Okay, and that thing is, I've got a couple of Lancias that have a chassis, the very first full chassis that I had SLS printed, and it was a failed chassis only because I failed the CAD drawing on it. Okay, I screwed up. I sent them the wrong file, but what I did is I modified these older Lancias to fit this thing, and wow, I've got 2 of them, you know, running as IROC cars, and so that thing is showing. That is also another cool way to go. Okay, I mean, that torsional center spine down the whole pod. Okay, it's like having a octopus on your wheels almost. You know, the car just is, it's stuck to the track. Okay, going around the corners and stuff, and I think it's a very it's different than the old torsional chassis they had in the old days. And I think it's different because of the material. The whole damn thing, yeah, it's got a torsional spine down the middle of the thing, but the rest of the front of it and the back of it, where the motor is connected, is all SLS nylon. And so the whole thing has this torsional kind of flexy thing happening where it's
Cat-like characteristics.
What?
It sounds like cat-like characteristics.
You know what? That's exactly what it's like, because it's like it's sort of like, how do you get the thing to set it? It's almost that it's sort of like when you're tuning the wheels, Wayne. Okay, you know how important it is when you're tuning wheels on a car, the front and the rear, and blah blah blah. It's almost like you don't have to tune the wheels; just get them down onto the ground, and the damn things tune themselves with the way that the chassis flex. Okay, it's really quite good. And seriously, I have not done any kind of yeoman's job testing things. Okay, I've got 4 cars. I got 2 Ferraris, F40s, and 2 Lancias. And the Ferrari F40s have the full, really good chassis with it, and they are awesome. Okay, and the Lancias have the revamped bad chassis in them, and all of the cars act the same way on the track. They are very, very flexy and very and you know, I have a Carrera track, so you know, I've got up and downs and stuff, so it's great for me. I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be that good on a wood track. I kind of got a feeling it would, but you know, so
Yeah, flexible chassis seem to work better on bumpier plastic tracks. The wood track guys seem to prefer a stiff chassis.
now this one is really bizarre to me, Greg, because you know, you got that, you know, the flexible versus the non-flexible, you know, certain things you don't want to flex and certain things you want to flex and stuff. And because it's this SLS nylon, okay, I think that if people do more design work with that material, okay, we're going to be finding that, man, this is really quite good material to work. And even with Wayne has kind of proved this. Wayne and his band of gypsies doing the 24s, you know, they don't tell you, but they're using SLS nylon on all their chassis and plates and, you know, the other illegal stuff they're putting on their cars, you know, and so they already know it. Okay, they just don't want to talk about it.
I'm sure they're fully legal.
I've driven cars in PLA that have been fantastic. I've driven cars in what's the material? One of the manufacturers that does FDM printing, that's CAT, KAT. They're very.
Speaking of PLA, I got a little plug to say about.
They're not the cats are not PLA. I think there's something. Gianna knows exactly what it is. It's not PLA, but it's still FDM.
I got two.
That's correct, Greg. AS. What did he call it?
There's for FDM printing, the most common materials are PLA, PETG, ABS, ASA.
ASA, I'm pretty sure it's ASA.
Yeah, ASA is becoming more common.
And they just seem to work. It doesn't seem to matter which chassis you choose. Every body shell I've seen on a CAT just seems to work rather well. So the last car I raced was one of those production off the shelf unit. But we've driven MJF printed back in January. That was pretty good. Yeah, I've had them all work. Really, I can't say.
There you go.
Strong preference either way.
All right. Here's one of those
Lancia.
Crazy bad chassis things, and it's got this metal gizmo on the back to make it the body fit to it. But why I really wanted to show it to you is the wheels. These are a couple of PLA wheels that were printed by Greg Gobb, okay, about a year ago, okay? And they got aluminum inserts in them, and this car is awesome, okay? And to that end, okay, I got another one. This one is, again, one of the test cars, okay? It's got the all the other junk in it. It's got PLA wheels in it, and Jeremy printed this on his printer with PLA, yellow PLA, and this is awesome, okay? So we have two expert PLA wheel printers on the chat today, so.
Playing pretty fast and loose with the term expert there, aren't you?
What?
Well, I mean, for me, it's accurate.
Okay.
Well, you know what an expert is, don't you?
Drip under pressure.
It's to drip formally under pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for the praise for both me and Jeremy. I'll thank you on his behalf. Mr. Weber has had his hand up for a while. What would you like to share today?
Yeah. Hello. At risk of being known as the shill for the giant DIY retailers, I have another item I picked up today that I found was on sale at Home Depot here in the United States. Apparently, all the Home Depots have them. They had piles of them stacked up. Is this little thing? You can read that. It's a USB rechargeable little vacuum cleaner, and it's also a blower. And it comes with these implements here and two filters that fit inside the clear plastic part here, and those filters can be washed. This was $10, $9.98. So I'm thinking this thing is going to be great for cleaning up when you're sanding, when you're shaving plastic, or you have metal shavings or that kind of thing. So I don't have to get out a
What
big.
did you say? Was that Home Depot? Did you say that is?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's called Pocket Vac.
Well, the real question is, how much does it suck?
Excuse me.
The real question is, how much does it suck? I mean, how well does it suck?
Wait, why does it go in your pocket? Why is it called pocket vacuum? What are you doing?
Depends on the pocket you're putting it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys thought I was bad. Jeez.
This comes off. Of course, that's a little bit more pocketable for me. And of course, you can disassemble most of it. But anyway, it's $10 is hard to pass up. I think it'd be highly useful for that sort of thing.
Have you been able to try it yet, John?
I have not. No.
When you use it as a blower, John, I've got one something similar to that, but it's got an AC cord on it, okay? And I use it for like when I paint my wheels.
Yeah.
You know, because what I do is I dip the wheel. I take the wheels. I dip the wheel in a solution of enamel and paint thinner, so it's really thin. Kind of spin them around, and then I blow them off with this air thing. But man, the air thing is just it's too strong. Okay, you know, I'm just wondering how that works with it.
I was looking to see if it said anything about that. Suction rating at PA. I don't know what PA means. 2,500 PA is the suction rating. So I would assume, depending on which nozzle you're using to blow.
I guess $10 is it's worth the $10.
It's worth the $10.
Well, you know what? At that price, Petrucci would have 4.
Yeah.
Have one charged at all times. Let's see. It uses a 1,300 milliamp 3C power supply, which is an 18650 lithium battery. Battery life 400 to 500 cycles. I don't, charge time's 2.5 hours. Run time on charge is 10 minutes. Filter's a EPA filter, I'm sorry, HEPA filter, and it's washable. So, you know,
10 minutes runtime tells me that it's either very powerful or very inefficient.
well, you know, I don't know.
I've got a lot of friends in radio control who swear by those little things, but they don't use them to vacuum. They use them to blow because they're usually using them outdoors. But with regard to clearing out either rubber tire dust or track surface dust and build up from competing, they blow cars fresh like those have just been built with similar things.
This is
They are deceptively powerful considering their size.
This is the nozzle for the blowing part.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. Yet to be determined.
Put it on there and blow your hair with it, you know, so.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good. No, I mean seriously, depending on how well his hair is blown by the blower, that's pretty good.
It's kind of stiff. So yeah.
I got my hand.
Well, in that case, open your mouth and blow it in there. See whether you cheat. See whether you make a sound.
What you got, Garth?
I got another thing. I went to a hang on a second, I just screwed that up. Trying to get the share here. Share.
Oh, and John, is that a Black Friday thing, or you think that's a regular price thing?
No, they told me it was Black Friday. They had like
Okay. Black Friday, cool.
at this store there were maybe 2 pallets worth of them. I mean, just stacks and stacks of them. So they'll be around for a little while, I would think.
Probably, yeah. Okay.
Okay, real quick, I went to the Professor Motor / Cloverleaf / NSR race slot car show this past Saturday, okay, and I actually went for the slot car show, and it was about an hour's drive for me, okay, and I was really disappointed in the slot car show. It was like I could have stayed home, but I took some pictures of the track that they raced, the NSR Eastern Nationals, I guess they call
Oh, I
it.
thought it was the Eastern Nationals.
And this is, I believe this is a scale auto track.
Yes, that's what they said. Yeah.
If it's,
And
if it's olive green and it looks like it might be, then yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of a dark or grayish color,
Grayish green, yeah, it's scale auto.
Yeah. And that's what it looked like. It was pretty cool looking track, you know. And this is the whole entire slot car show, which there were about 8 tables at. And so I was kind of disappointed. I went with a whole big bag of cash and came home with a whole big bag of cash. I'll tell you how bad this slot car show was.
Well, you know, Garth, I don't know if there are any model shows out by your way, but you'd be amazed what you could pick up when people have stuff on their model tables.
Yeah. There is a couple of model shows, but it just bums me out that I live in Detroit and we don't have a damn good, you know, this thing was touted as it was not too far, about a mile or 2 away from Professor Motor, and it was touted as the Detroit slot car show. Okay. And I thought, oh my God, I can finally go to a real slot. And so I saved up all my money, you know, and I still got my money. So
does that mean though, Garth, that you were walking around picking up things on the table that accidentally fell in your pocket?
Well, there was some cars for sale, but I was really after tires and wheels and bits and parts and pieces and stuff.
So all the vendors just kind of disappeared. That's how you knew it was a Detroit show.
Well, they didn't have any corn, if that's.
Don't make fun of Iowa. How dare you?
Did you see much of the racing, Garth? What did you think of the racing that you saw?
It makes me wonder why people want to do that, you know, so. Yeah.
Okay.
you know.
Because Andrea Noviello himself was there, wasn't he? And I think he won the event.
You know,
won
seriously,
both
seriously,
classes.
I'm probably not the guy to talk to about that because I wasn't there for very long.
Okay.
And, it seemed to me that, you know, it was more, I thought it would be, bigger and better and than it actually was. So it was kind of, I think it was kind of ramshackle. You know, it was the first time they had ever done a show slash race there. Okay. And the location was probably about a half-hour drive down a freeway from Cloverleaf and maybe a 5-minute drive from Professor Motor. So it was, you know, kind of the Ann Arbor, Michigan area. And I rarely, I mean, I get out to Professor Motor once in a while, but it's quite a good I'd rather pay the postage, you know, and drive all the way out there to pick something up. So.
Well, hopefully future shows will be better.
I hope so, because you know, I'm a junkie for a good slot car show, and I haven't been to one, and I haven't ever been to one. So
yeah,
it'll tell you how bad it is.
Well, as I said, try going to a model show, because the great thing about, especially if it's a car model show, everybody's into 125th, 124th. Nobody wants 132nd scale kits, and you can pick them up for.
Yeah, there's a couple of shows down in Ohio which are striking distance for me, but they're HO stuff, you know, and I don't, you know, I'm not an HO guy anymore. I used to be, but I'm out of the HO mode. So.
I mean, those shows usually have a smattering of larger scales, but if you have zero interest in HO, it's probably not worth the trip. Especially if you're just looking for parts. I mean, they're likely to have tons of HO parts and then a few 132nd cars and 124th cars, but no 132nd spare parts. Like, you're not going to go and get a bag full of gears and a bag full of wheels. And
I almost feel like starting a damn slot car show just so I could go to one. You know?
Right? Been there, done that, just not for slot cars. Anywho, Mr. Weber seems to be done. Does anybody else have any show and tell? Should we move on? Moving on. Club Corner, if you got some past, present, or future racing you want to talk about. I already kind of talked about a little bit on my half, so, you know, raise your hand, wave your hand, I don't care. Nobody wants to talk about racing? That's cool. Go ahead, Mike, and then we'll get to Lenny.
Well, I continued my oxygen travails. Shiggy didn't show up this week. His car broke down and he couldn't get a ride. And Ratby was gone somewhere. We don't know where he's disappeared into the ether. So I have no idea what went on. But Joel and I played for a little while, and I spent about 5 hours mucking about pulling chips out of my GT cars and putting them in the Revo slot cars, you know, because the chips are like $50 for the C chip now, $52. And it's, you know, I prefer to, you know, put the chip in the car and race them. But it was not a good deal. All the chips that work perfectly in the GT cars were on and off. Didn't help that my battery went flat on my controller put into the race, and I didn't figure out what was causing it, because it just suddenly show a yellow flag, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I had to switch the controller around with that. So it was all around a difficult day, but it was weird, because testing with the RevoSlot cars, you would think they would be more stable, you know, because they're definitely a flat chassis to start out with for the most part, less bendable. You know, you could keep the hall sensor at an even height, but it didn't work out that way. I would have short laps, I would have missed laps. It was all over the place. And with the GT cars, the exact same chips work fine with no problems whatsoever. So I'm, sort of back to square one with this. And it was difficult, after spending all that time switching the chips around, and most of the time was spent, putting the slotted plugs on, so you could just plug the chip in and put a piece of double stick tape down and put it down. And I have discovered that you should not use foam tape on the slotted chips with that little plastic film that's on the bottom. Use double stick tape for carpets, the carpet tape. It sticks better, but it also is removable. If you put the foam tape on, it's there, and you play hell to try and get that without tearing that plastic sheet off. So a couple of them I glued the sheet back onto the chip with E6000. I don't think that'll do any damage to the electronics or anything like that, so it should be no problem. But it's just, just a warning for people that are doing that. Because your warranty goes away if you pull that piece of plastic off. So anyway, it was frustrating. And then on top of that, I figured I would try PC Lap Counter for the SSD. And at first I couldn't get it to work at all. It wouldn't read the laps or anything like that. Well, I've only got the 10 lap version, and it's been 5 days now, and I had no response from PC Lap Counter to get the full boat as far as that. And I've twice now registered the thing with my money paid and everything that. Interestingly enough, when I first started SSD, PC Lap Counter was available on CD from Professor Motor, and the same thing happened. I paid the money for the CD, and I never got a response back with my key. So it's like, okay, what the heck is the problem? And you apparently have been able to purchase it, I guess.
Yeah, well, stop buying the damn thing. It sounds like you've paid 3 times for it and still don't.
No, I only bought it once, but I've registered it with the codes that I have twice.
Okay. Well. Okay. It's one thing that I do know about PC Lap Counter is that it's basically bound to the PC. Like, you can't put it on multiple devices. If you try to install it on a different device, it won't. The license key doesn't work.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not worried about that.
Okay, so you did manage to get the software works, so it's been installed.
Right.
You've tried to put the key.
But I've got 10 laps only, so.
So for whatever reason, the key itself is not working.
Well, they send you a key.
Yeah.
But he didn't send me a key. I've got a CD, what they call a CD number that you fill into that. So you got the registration number of the stuff, and then you've got a CD number that they send back after you pay for it. So and then you use that to register it, and once it's registered, he sends you the key. Well, I haven't heard a word.
Okay. And you're checking your spam and junk to make sure that you.
Yep, I've been checking it every day to make sure, but there's nothing going. And it's ironic because it's the same thing happened to me. I sent probably 50, 60 emails to the guy at PC Lap Counter from when I bought it from Professor Motor, and didn't get any response from him. So it's like, okay, what's with this guy?
Yeah, I don't think that's. That's absolutely not normal. He's alive and kicking and responding to people. You might go onto the forum, go to PC Lap Counter, website, and then go to their forum, and maybe send a private message through the forum to him.
Yeah.
Try and use a different name. Maybe he knows who you are.
No. I was thinking if you've been sending all these messages from the same email account.
Yeah.
Maybe it's going into his spam folder, and once it's in there once, it's going to go there all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Until he tells it not to, and unless he knows it's in there, it's just going to be right. So some other avenue of communication than you sending an email from that email account is probably the best thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got another Google account. Maybe I'll send it from there and see what happens.
Yeah. And for the chips, when you move the chips between cars, did the cars that you moved them to have Ferrite Man, or did you move Ferrite Man along with them, or?
Well, the new chips come with a Ferrite thing installed on the wires, but I installed Ferrite Men on all of them anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was not an issue. One of the things that happened, ironically, is about 2/3 of the way through the race. Well, actually more, almost to the end. I couldn't stop in the pits and get fuel because it didn't recognize that I had gone to the pits. Yet I grabbed another car and put it through there, and it recognized it right away, but it wouldn't fill it up because it wasn't the same car. It wasn't paired right. I don't know what the deal was, but at any rate, who knows? It changed lanes fine. It counted laps fine, but it wouldn't go into the pits and activate the slow speed for the pit or let me fuel. And I ended up losing the race, mucking around trying to get fuel because I had one lap to go without fuel. And of course it wouldn't let me win because, I didn't have fuel. So all in all, it was a frustrating weekend and Monday for me. I wish they could get their crap together and figure out what's going on with this. And I am nearly positive that the short laps come from going over a lane changer, because I would get it the fastest lap designation. I'd look up and it's about 2 feet past the lane changer that I just went over. That's when it happened, when it signaled the lap. So something in the lane changers has enough magnetism to activate it. Maybe I tried raising the hall sensor above it, because Tamar on the forum mentioned that sometimes they raise it and that makes a difference. Well, then I had about 3 times that I missed a lap. So it wouldn't. I get a lap with those cars is running about 7.7 seconds, something like that. Well, I get a 15.5 second lap, meaning that I missed it. So I did like 75 laps, and I was paying attention to when it happened and just being aware of what was going on with it. And
which cars did you use again?
What's that?
Which cars did you use?
I was using Revoslot cars that I had swapped the chips over from the GT cars that worked fine the last time I ran it.
So which cars? The Group 2?
No, the Porsche and the Mercedes CLKs, the GT1s.
Okay, so basically with the metal chassis, you're going to have a problem with the whole sensor. So this is something that already we have seen with our Group 2.
Okay.
So one way in which we are solving it is by, for instance, for the Group 2, there is not much space.
Yeah.
That is chassis. Yeah. So what we do is that we put the whole sensor sticking out from the chassis nearby the front wheel.
Yep, exactly what I did.
So that one kind of solved for some cars the issues. And then the other thing is also using a bit of inox. Are you using the stock brakes that come with the Revoslot?
No, I'm using NSR thin braid is my standard. So
yeah. So one thing that, for those large cars, one thing that I was thinking is to try to drill a hole in the chassis and make the whole sensor basically see through the hole, so that there is no metal between the chassis, sorry, between the whole sensor and the track.
Okay.
So basically on the
So,
side of
oh,
the,
I see. So drill a hole where you're mounting the sensor.
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
of course, like make sure it's not like for the infrared sensor to look through, but it's just to see the whole sensor such that it's basically looking straight through the chassis into the track.
Okay.
You know what I mean, right? I mean, still needs to be flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like the LED, except not an LED.
Right.
It still
Right.
needs
So,
to have the correct
just so that
orientation.
there's
Yeah, it still needs to have the correct orientation for the sensor relative to the track, but no chassis between the sensor and the track.
Yeah, basically the whole sensor is to sit basically on top of the hole, not going through.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things
Let me grab the car and I'll show you what I had done.
In the meantime, if you,
Oh, go ahead, Dennis.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I was late. So, sorry about that. I was hunting for Thanksgiving food and managed to shoot a ham and a whole lot of sides with a hot credit card. So, what I've got for you today is
Mr.
new Revo slot.
Yeah.
They've just brought out these three different liveries of the Lister Storm. They've done a very, very nice job on these. The finish and detail is exceptional. It's all the same underneath. Unfortunately, their attention to detail on the body doesn't extend to the chassis. And the one that I got was fitted with two different heights of axle blocks at the front. Not that they were front and rear mixed up, but that they were one at one height and another one about 1/4 millimeter, no, maybe 0.5 millimeter lower. And so I had to make a shim to fit there. But once I'd done that and trued the tires, it runs really, really nice. And it's probably one of the quietest gear meshes that I've had.
That's for dirt track racing.
Yeah, stagger is one thing if you can flex the chassis, but when you're running around with the left hand wheel 0.5 millimeter off the track, it doesn't do too well in right-hand turns.
You're not the only person that's written about or reported that problem. I've written about
there's
that.
been a couple already. I mean, it's the second time it's happened to me. I got mismatched rear uprights on a Ferrari F40 a couple of years back. So it is something that seems to happen. Why they don't manage to standardize on the sizes and then anodize each size a different color beats me, because that would be the easiest way to do it. Anyway, whatever. Just sort of
apparently they are willing to replace faulty ones if you report them. I don't know what the correct mechanism is, but I understand that Revo Slot responded very, very well when it was brought to their attention, and I have been helping.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I've heard of Alan responding, but I haven't heard of Revo Slot themselves responding yet. But anyway, it was easy enough for me to cut a little brass shim from some 25 thou brass and drill some holes in it and bolt it up together, and away I went.
Is that a shorter car than most of that size then?
Say again?
Is that a shorter wheelbase car?
It's slightly shorter, but it's very wide.
Yeah.
It's an extremely wide car. And it's a little shorter than some of the others, particularly like the Mercedes or the Toyota GT1s. But
is it about the same as a Porsche then?
Not that short. I haven't actually checked it yet, but just from the view of it, I don't think it's quite as short as the Porsches.
Okay.
But certainly the way it performed on the Electric Dreams track, I was very happy with it. It's very smooth and as I say, very quiet for a change. The gears seem to have fixed the Revo slot scream that they used to have.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it, the Revo slot raucous or
Whale.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
What
Show
are the
us.
aftermarket alternatives for a 3mm axle then?
Yeah, Plafit, and a lot of the other, some of the German manufacturers and others you probably can find at Scale Auto.
I think Scale Auto probably do it.
Yeah.
It's the one I could think of. Didn't know about Plafit. Never had any involvement with that. They would always seem to be a candidate for aftermarket gears, those cars to me.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Wade. Let's get back to Mike. Let him finish up, and then we can pick back up on.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, here's, you can see the way I've got that mounted. Now, the only thing I would be concerned about is if it's not oriented exactly in the direction of travel because it's on an angle. I guess that might be a possibility.
No, it shouldn't.
I don't even think that's what Gio meant.
This is not what I meant. So basically here, your Hall sensor is still looking to the track through the chassis.
Right.
What I meant is try to put the Hall sensor, the black thing, just, looking through the...
Right, right. Just drill a hole there at that point.
Or you don't need to drill the hole. You could
why
also
does it have to be so far forward? Put it through the hole that's already there.
Yeah, I mean, there's one right next to the chip. You could have it, but you don't want it that close to the slot. You want it outboard a little bit. I think what they're trying to get across, because people are talking over each other, is rather than having it there or drilling a hole there, move it down back towards the space between the front wheel and the chassis.
I see.
Because there's a big old gap right there, right? So you can
got it.
You just have the tiny little black square bit of the sensor hovering in the air there, being held down by the 3 wires onto the chassis itself.
Yeah, got it. So you're talking about putting it right there, like in that.
Yeah, but not even in that hole, just in that gap right next to the wheel.
In the gap between the front wheels and the chassis.
Yeah. And that way you don't have to modify the chassis at all.
Okay, got it. All right, thanks.
And it would still
I'll give that a try and see what happens.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that this car had no problem whatsoever with fueling or with lap counting, but the other one that's exactly the same car, just the blue coral body, had the trouble.
Okay, so another thing that I discovered yesterday, because here has been pretty hot and the track expanded quite a lot. So when going inside the pit lane, I had off piece of track single lane that is just before my kind of a lane change, single lane change, in order to go double lane. It's coming through a corner, and that in that piece, the to do magnets for the pit lane sensing. What was happening is that piece was completely isolated from the track, so the car was going through it, but losing power, and then going into the lane changer and then taking power going through. And so because when it was going over that piece, there was no power, then the old sensor was not sensing. I mean, basically the chip was dead.
Basically, the chip turned off is what you're saying.
Correct. And we could not notice because you go at such speed that you don't even see it. So when I put the car on that piece stationary, so I could see that because we have lights, I could see the lights were off. And so what I did to do is kind of, crimp I rip the piece apart, clip the 2 things and put it back, and then the problem was solved. Now, I don't know if you use lights. one thing that I notice is when the cars goes into the pit lane, if you don't have the brakes, going into close to the flag of the guide, that you're gonna normally inside the pit lane because of low speed, you can lose power. So I don't know if maybe that specific car was losing power when it was going over the sensor.
Well, the interesting thing is that it did at one point allow me to fuel. I set it up so I had, the racing stuff that I could do. But yeah, I'll check that and make sure that's. But the other car was able to fuel.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
That's what he's saying. If it's the brakes.
The brakes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's another thing to look for. One other thing, Gio, when you put your video up, you mentioned using the version 0035, I think it was, of RCS02. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can see on the video, yes.
Mine is 0039. And
yeah, I know.
Right, is that available somewhere? Because I went to the RCS website and you can't get anything from them. I mean, it's just not there.
Let me see if I've got it. I usually keep the old stuff, but if I didn't download that same version when he did, I might not have it.
Okay.
I can look it up if yeah, I should have it somewhere. So maybe I can send it over.
Okay.
So the thing is that because Greg, when he invited you over, I don't know which version was using, but I know that it was not the version that I had, and you guys had a lot of problems. So I'm not 100% sure that 3.9 is the one that it was used when you guys had the problem or not. But I can tell you that 3.5 works. So
yeah.
Okay, I do have a copy of 3.5, so
good.
I'll put it somewhere for you to download, and I'll try it on my own computer, and we'll see if that makes a difference.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get this stuff figured out because the system is nice and using the controllers is nice, but man.
I mean, that's the main reason that I'm trying to get my head around PC Lap Counter. Even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles, if it is more reliable. And if it's not, you can say, "Hey, dude, this isn't working," and he'll look into it. And fix it.
I'm looking for PC Lap Counter to fix my SSD problem. At least that way I can use more than 4 cars.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Hopefully you get that license thing figured out. Did you get it to? You got it to detect cars even with your 10 laps, though, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I got it to detect the power base and everything with no problem at all. I don't know why it happened in the first place. There was something wrong with the COM port. It kept switching between COM port 4 and COM port 6. I don't know what was going on, but once that was stable, it was okay. Then I could do it.
Yeah, mine started doing that too, and I'm like, what in the world is going? I was checking which thing was on which COM port using other programs and stuff to make sure I had the right COM port selected, and it would just keep going through COM ports. And I'm like, whoa! I just ended up, saying, F it, I'm done for tonight, shut it all down. And then the next time I tried it, it was working fine. So,
yeah, that's essentially what happened. One thing I was curious, I don't know if anybody else has used PC Lap Counter, but it doesn't have anything for damage that I noticed. Do you know?
There's penalties.
Is there a penalty for damage for falling off?
Yeah. I was playing with that the other day. You can set it so it's in settings like C7042 options. It's not where you think it's going to be. It's in
a
separate tab that only shows when you have C7042 as the sensor system. But it's you can have it automatically track call after a certain number of seconds of
that I got working.
Yeah. And then you can have it you can have that assign a penalty or not. I think it's not by default, so you have to go in and turn on, assigns penalty for triggering yellow flag, and then you can set how many laps you can, basically that sets a stop and go penalty. So you got to pull into the pit and wait, and it automatically runs a stop and go countdown. And if you leave before the countdown, then it's not considered served. So you have to come in and start your countdown again. You can change the length of the countdown. Like I think default was 10 seconds, and I kept wondering why it was taking forever because it wasn't showing 10:9:8. It wasn't showing a number for 10 seconds. Anyways, I figured that out, set it down to 2 seconds. Much more reasonable stop and go penalty for coming off.
Yeah.
And how you can set how many laps you can still get without having served your penalty. So like 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5 laps, before you have to serve your penalty. And if you exceed the number of laps before fully serving your penalty, then you get black flagged. Just straight up, you're done. So it's got some good options for that kind of stuff.
Okay. It's different than RCS 64 or RCS 02 from that standpoint. I really like the ability to control the power on that. Well, I like the way RCS 02 and RCS 64 work.
Yeah.
But
there are power settings, like you can set it so you can tell it how much power is reduced when you have a full tank, separately from how much power you have when your tank is empty, which is also separate from how much power you have at the end of the race. There's like 4 or 5 or maybe even 6. How much power you have in this situation settings that you can play around with. There's also throttle curves. Like you can do a custom throttle curve. So I was surprised to see that. I didn't mess around with it, but it's in there.
Yeah, I saw that part of it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good features. It's just completely different interface.
Oh, yeah.
Everything
It's a whole nother world. And, I've been working with RCS 64 for a number of years. So it's new territory and trying to figure stuff out. But I really wish I could just get the whole thing and then I could just work it and try it and see what happens. So
I've had that thing. I've run that thing, I don't know, at least half a dozen times since you came over, and just play with this and that and that and the other thing and this and that again and that and the other thing again, and I still am learning things.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
well, it's
eventually I'll figure it out.
Well, I don't know. Did you get a chance to look at Gio's introduction to RCS?
Not the whole thing, no.
That was excellent. He gave all the parameters. It was great. I really appreciate Gio doing that. It was really nice. So, I'll figure it out. But, I'll see if I can get rid of the curse of digital. On me.
I'm
too stubborn to quit now.
Sometimes you genuinely seem cursed.
Yes. Well.
All right. Let's let all these analogers be done with digital talk. Go ahead, Lenny.
Oh, right. Okay. I'll try not to keep you too long. Where are we?
Just as long as you like.
Yeah, we spent plenty of time.
I mean, you're not a Canadian. You don't have to be polite.
And you're not Wayne.
All right. So we got on with some racing on Tuesday night without too many hassles.
Your share stopped.
My share stopped.
Yeah.
Let's try again.
You were sharing, and then I don't know.
Oh, I probably hit the wrong button. That one. There. Oh, there we go. Right. Yeah, I hit a button I shouldn't have. All right. So we had our last round of our point series, round 10. And the 3 classes were Scaly GT, Classic Sports and GT, and the local V8 supercar class. And as per usual, Andrew won the race. The first one was Scalex GT. So as per usual, Andrew won the race with his Corvette. He'd recently bought a Corvette after seeing mine, and his goes a lot faster than mine now. So as you can see by the lap times. So yeah, Andrew got first, Steve got second, and Jeff got third, and I just missed out on fourth by about half a lap, but on third by about half a lap. I finished fourth, And Ian was not far behind me, and Callum, Andrew, and Norm. And a couple of other lads come along as well, but we didn't count them in the races because they're fairly new. We didn't want them getting tangled up with our guys, and they didn't want to feel as though they're getting lapped every 5 laps. So they raced their own heat. But I didn't record their results. So there's the podium for that. So there's all right, I'll get rid of this thing. There we go. So there's Andrew's Corvette, Steve's Aston Martin, is it? Yeah, no, Mercedes, and Jeff's McLaren. So that was a pretty good result, good race, that one. Next up, we were in the V8 supercars. And once again, Andrew came up trumps again from Norm and Steve. Steve Lambert put in a good result, and me not far behind Steve once again. So yeah, there's the results. So there's Andrew's Camaro. The top 3 all ran metal chassis for this one, but they're being phased out for next year. So we're going to have a generic chassis that everybody runs. So that was a pretty good race as far as I'm concerned. I ran one of my prototypes with the plastic chassis under it, and that finished 4th, so I was pretty happy with that. And then we got into the classic sports and GT cars. Norm got up for a win. It's his first win in the points round anywhere or any time at Spitfire Raceway, so he was pretty chuffed with that. Andrew sneaked into 2nd, and then Ian put in a brilliant performance with his NSR GT40 to grab 3rd. Steve, Callum, Jeff, me, that's a race I'd rather forget. I was pretty well underprepared with 2 cars, and they were both pretty ordinary, so I didn't do very well. And then Andrew coming in 8th. And there's the podium for that. So there's Norm's Elva McLaren from Andrew's Ferrari P3, P4, and then Ian's GT40. So pretty good race that.
Interesting that 3 different makes of cars. It's Thunderstruck.
We mix them all up.
Car and NSR.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we don't divide. I only slot it. DTM gets divided with us. There's the only one mate class really with us. And Scalextric GT.
Usually in a class like that, Thunderstruck cars dominate. Just interesting to see a couple of others at least competitive.
Yeah. Well, I can mix and match motors and what have you. So if you've got a Scaler, a Polycar, you can put an NSR motor in it, etc. So it's just a tuner class basically. So there's the points table after 10 rounds, 30 races. Andrew's there. He could have had a holiday. He need not have come. He missed the previous week. Poor old Andrew had an accident with his Toyota Land Cruiser and put it on its roof a couple of times. So he was feeling a bit sore the previous week, but he seems to have recovered and took a couple of wins. Jeff's got into 2nd place overall, and I sort of sneaked into 3rd. Jason didn't come along for the last round for various reasons, so he sort of fell down the order. He was 3rd. He would have finished 3rd in the points, but unfortunately he missed a round. And then I managed to snag 3rd just by consistently being there every week and finishing in the top 5, I suppose. Then Norm, he was the last of the people to complete all 30 rounds, and then Ian and Jason. It was a bit unlucky for Jason there. He missed out by a point, dropped another spot. Then Steve, Callum, Andrew, and a few of the other guys that didn't come every week. There's George and Chris who came along last Tuesday night, and I added them into the points, but based on where they finished. So yeah, it's been a pretty successful year. We'll run the same thing again next year, but see how we go with that. And, yeah, so it's been a pretty good year all round. Unfortunately, only 4 of us completed all 30 races, but hopefully next year that'll improve. But yeah, so that's it for me. I've got nothing else, so I'll get out your way.
Nice.
Thanks for listening.
Carry on. Yeah, good. Great racing action down under.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else got anything they want to show, tell, talk about? Club Corner
I
about?
I can just update Wayne a little on the the Lister Storm. It's a little, like 2 millimeters longer between the guide and the rear wheels than the Porsche. Maybe just see the guides up the front there. That's about it. So, but it's about that same amount wider,
Mhm.
and it's pretty much the widest of all of them, and close to the shortest of all of them. I think the Porsche is still the shortest, although the Marcos is not a lot shorter. The Marcos is almost identical dimensions to the Porsche.
Okay.
I checked a whole bunch now.
Well, time will tell whether it stands out amongst its peer group.
Yeah, we'll see. See how it goes. That extra width may be a good thing in some tracks and maybe not on others.
Dennis, is it shorter than the GT2 Porsche? The 911?
Then the GT1, you mean?
Or GT?
Then this one?
No, the GT2, the regular 911 Porsche.
This one?
Yeah.
It's not shorter. That was the one I was showing.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's about 2 millimeters short. It's about 2 millimeters longer at the guide, from guide to rear axle.
Got it.
But the wheelbase is even the wheelbase is longer than the Porsche.
Yeah.
The wheelbase itself is a lot longer than the Porsche.
Yeah.
But the distance to the front wheels is not really important.
Yeah.
But and it's a little wider. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the blue and yellow one that may or may not come out in the future.
Well, there's a yellow and green one right now. I haven't seen a yellow and blue and yellow one yet.
Yeah, I've got that one on order.
There's
Yellow
a blue,
and green.
There's a blue livery with a bunch of yellow accents. I forget the name of the livery. Fly did it. I have the Fly version, so I'm hoping that Revo does the same one.
Probably will.
Probably will. Yeah. It's like they know my penchant for blue and yellow, so like every car series they come out with multiple.
Well, it's just that I don't know how many Lister Storm liveries there are, but they probably will want to do pretty much all of them to recoup the tooling cost of the body.
Yeah. When I search Lister Storm actual race cars, there's at least half a dozen. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well, they brought out the 3 now. This blue one, and the green and yellow one, and the black one with the rainbow motif on the top. Then there's still the Mad Cow one, the black and white dot one, and there are a couple of others.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see them all.
Newcastle Football Club one there as well, the black and white one.
Yeah, Newcastle United Football Club.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was the Newcastle one. Yeah, it's quite an interesting car. I remember when Victor Ferguson, the guy at TrueScale, was making a mold for a vacuum form of this. He started with a model of a Mustang, because the proportions and the shape, particularly of the roof, is very similar to the Mustangs of the early 2000s. And then he went from there. There you go. That's pretty.
That is the one for me.
That's almost enough metallic blue for me. Just change the yellow to pink and I'm away, man.
Yeah, some good shots on that website too.
Nice.
But yeah, there's the. Is this the one? No, this isn't the one they've already done, is it?
That's very similar to the one they've already done, if not that exact one.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Go away. Go away. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
That's the one. That's one of the 3 they've already released.
That's one of the. Yeah, could be.
It looks like this one has more color on the back than the one.
Yeah, it does. Let me check on. Electric train. See what the.
Well, hello.
This thing dominated the category for a very short period of time, didn't it?
Uh-huh.
I think they changed the rules to stop it, which is so common in motorsport.
Possibly. Same way as they did with that MC12 Maserati when they brought that out.
Yeah.
I think this is the one, because it only has this rainbow on top. No, it's got it on the bottom. It's got it on the.
It is on the back as well, but not down the sides.
Yeah, this is different.
There's less on the back.
Yeah, this one doesn't have it all down the back.
Yeah, that's the one that it's down the back in between the uprights of the wing, but not down the fenders at the side of the rear fenders.
Oh my goodness, come on. All right, I'm done. I'm done trying to share.
Oh.
Yeah, but anyways, lots of and obviously variants of existing liveries, because there's obviously more than one version of that black rainbow.
That's the one that's the picture off of.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's the last one that I found.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, but nice.
Floor is open. Got half an hour.
I have a question.
Garth, you got your hand up again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question for Dennis. Is that an inline or a sidewinder, that Lister?
They're all angle winders.
Oh, it's angle winder.
They're all angle winders. All of the reverse slots are angle winders.
Okay. Okay, cool.
And this has the wide rear tires as well.
Okay, thanks. I got some more photos of that that Lancia I wanted to show. Okay, this is real quick. This is the first car. Okay, this black one actually is the first car I ever had. Was a white kit. Both of these were white kits originally. Okay, this is maybe 15 years old now. Okay, and it's just been like 27 different colors painted, and like at least a gallon of epoxy on it, here and there. And so anyways, that's got one of these chassis in it. Okay, and then what I wanted to do was make this car into that, so there were two mates. Okay, so I kind of got a bunch of photos that go, that's your first car, and these are SLS nylon wheels. And that's the chassis, okay, and then that's got the, this had a different gear in it at that time. And that's that aluminum piece that I put in the back of it. Okay. And it's got a metal aluminum wing on the back of it, because I broke so many wings on it. And then this is a kind of a progression through making this yellow car into a mate for it. So I made an identical wing for it. And then I put the it's the epoxy, and the piece of the little plastic thing that's in there is in there, and then I epoxied over it and just sanded it down. So it the idea was to mate these two cars. And actually these are resin printed mirrors that that I drew, and Jeremy resin printed for me. So I got a bunch of different mirrors for it. And I always would break those, how the Lancias had those big long mirrors on them, and I would always smash them off. So what I did was, when I drew it, I made it so it was only half height. Okay, so
they look great.
I still break them off, but not as bad as the big tall ones. Okay, so there's the two cars. And one thing that happened was, when Jeremy saw this, he said, "Wait a minute, how come you don't have a grill in the front?" And basically, I don't have the chassis plate. That's where the front piece is on the thing. So I said, "Wow, that gives me an idea." And so I ended up, here's a picture of the two cars, kind of as they are now. I put a 34. I had some old 34 tooth gears in there, so they both got 34 tooth slot dot gears. The gears that came with the Ferrari 312 PBs back, 100 years ago. And here's the front ends of the cars, and and that's when Jeremy said, "Hey, you got no grills in those things," I said, "Yeah, that's true." And so what I ended up doing was I said, "Hey," I looked in my Lancia box, and I found two broken off front ends of a Lancia that I had saved, and I said, "Okay, maybe I can fabricate this and make it go into the front of the car." So that's kind of what I did.
Well,
Is I cut it off and glued it into the body so that it at least has a front end on it now. That's the car, and then those are Greg's wheels, that PLA wheels on it. Okay, and so that's the completed car, and there's a good shot of that aluminum thing. So this is what I screwed the chassis up on. I was trying to make a Ferrari F40 chassis, and I made the chassis too long, I guess it was. And so to fit this body, and then what I did was just to fit that body on there, I had to do a little bit of grinding on the side of this part here, and a little bit there to make the wheels fit. And then I put that aluminum spacer in there, and it's got a couple of I don't know if you can see it here, but maybe not. It's got there's a screw that goes down through the body that screws into that aluminum piece that holds it on. Yeah, there it is. So there's a little screw that goes down. It's quite a long M2 screw that goes down, and this piece is threaded, so it threads into that, and then that threads up that way. That's how the body mounts on there. And there's the piece that I put into the body to make it look like that. And there's a good shot of the chassis as it is today. Okay, so this is the torsional spine, and then I reconfigured the front end of it a little bit with wet. I had a lot more weight in there. I took a bunch of the weight out, and I got like one little piece under here, and I got this kind of a wing piece and two little pieces, and it's probably about 3 grams, maybe 3.5 grams now in the front. And it changed the bias of the car from, and that's the rear end of it, from 62 to 61. So it changed it. It actually increased the bias of the car a little bit, which makes it a little bit nicer driving. That's the other car. And then I did a few updates to that. I put that piece in there and did a little painting on the car. And then again, see, it's got that aluminum thing in there. So that's a shot on the track with my Outlaw Parts billboard. Okay. Yeah. So a good shot of that. That's a nice shot of that car. The red and the yellow looks pretty cool together. There's the black car. That's about it. So
let's see what Dewan wants to talk about.
Yeah. This weekend I was looking at the OSR Eastern, and I was also looking at the video from Marty last night on his little chat, and they brought up the subject of the Western Nationals, the Eastern Nationals, and Dennis might be able to help me on this. The NSR event that's in May in Italy, that they have those 4 tracks on. Yeah. What's the initial stand for? Is
it World Racing Endurance?
Okay, and that's a completely different animal of a race than what we've done in those U.S. Nationals East and West. Is that correct? Is it a team endurance?
Yeah, 24 hour, isn't it? I think it's 24 hour.
Okay, I guess what I was getting to is, well, the format of the
I was muted. It's 24 hours here.
okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
so
think Dennis was in a team that went there and raced it, but he couldn't go.
I was supposed to be in the team and I got COVID.
yeah. I remember. I was just wondering the format of those races. I know that we in the West have the different format, different car. We settled on the Monster, and in the East they had two different classic cars, and they had choices of different models, and everything. And they were using silicone, and the format of the races.
They're running on plastic track, yeah.
Yeah, plastic track. But you know, one of the comments that came up on Marty's chat last night, was having the winners of the West and the winner of the East, and then maybe something. I was just thinking, why couldn't they go to have something in the Italy event that's in May, and just have maybe the top three from each one of those different events, or what is it, format? How do they do the team race? The 4-man team, or does it matter how many teams, how many movers?
It's 5 or 6 man team usually. They have 4 8-lane tracks. So there's at least 32. Last time there were 34 teams, and you ran a certain amount of time on every lane of every track. So you know, the stints were pretty long. I don't recall exactly now. I'd have to work it all out. But it's a very different kind of race because there's one car per team. You know, and you need lights and you need to switch them on and off.
You say there's 4 8-lane circuits?
It was 4 8-lane circuits, yeah.
Gosh.
Yep, one being I saw it.
Listen out.
And I was just, thinking, why couldn't they have some type of a worldwide championship that occurs for the winners of the nationals in the East and West and US, and then something that takes the people from the Italian, but I know it's a completely different event with the team enduro, but just the concept of
I think it could be done. It's a matter of who's prepared to do the work and put in the effort to do that. It may still come. I just think that part of the problem is always the perception that if your home style of racing is different to whatever is going to be presented for a world level race, then you may feel that you don't, or that you can't compete. For example, you take the guys who were competing on rubber tires with Mosler's and 25K motors on our 90-foot track, and you take them and you say, okay, the world championship is going to be on a 150-foot 8-lane plastic track with red rubber tires and 21K motors. There's a lot of guys saying, I'm not going to spend that money to get there for something that I haven't ever had any experience of and tuned my cars for. If it's a team event, it's a little different, I suppose. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it's enough of a problem just to get the East and the West to talk to each other, let alone to get the rest of the world to talk to each other.
Anyway, just the novel concept.
Not that the East and West don't talk to each other. It's just that it's it's a figure of speech more than anything else. But it's two very different concepts of racing.
Yeah,
we have
a common format.
We have a tool now that they didn't have years ago to do this. Is we have the internet, and then we have the ability to take the track plans. If they say it's plastic track, to distribute those plastic track plans, and everybody can buy that track then, and you say it's going to be at 11 volts. We all know it's 11 volts. You
It's gonna
have
be
the opportunity
expensive,
to do
Jeremy.
it. What's that?
Yeah.
It's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Well, Dewan's funding it. Don't worry. He's got this. He's putting it all together. We'll have it at the Vegas Sphere. That will be the World Nationals right there.
That would be, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
All 27 people filling up that place. It's gonna be wild.
Several years ago, there was a similar kind of thing with Scholastic Digital. I forget what the name was, but it was like some kind of worldwide this digital slot car challenge or something like that.
Wasn't it like an online game that somehow like it was like
Well, they had different different layouts. I remember they were
you
trying to have.
competed against people around the world though with your
Let me go ahead and finish because
Okay,
you guys
sorry.
are talking about different things. But what happened was on Slot Forum, a bunch of people who said they wanted to participate got together and basically agreed on what kind of track it would be. Scholastic Sport, obviously, because we're doing Scholastic Digital. What the layout would be, where borders were required, the specs of the cars, et cetera, et cetera. Race Control System 64, RCS 64, the program was designed to upload your the event statistics uploaded to a server, and so everybody who is participating around the world, we tried to do this at the same time, right? So some of the guys were up late, some of the guys were up early, right? To make this happen real time around the world, everybody racing on the same exact layout. All of their race statistics went up to the cloud and were visible in real time on a web page, so everybody around the world could go see how people from the track that I was racing on were doing against people on tracks in the UK and people on tracks in Australia or wherever they were. Pretty sure we had one in Australia, but that was very limited in scope as far as what kind of cars were we even going to consider, what kind of track we were going to consider, what kind of layout because it all had to be very limited. Scholastic Digital, okay, sport track. We're not doing big auditoriums, okay, so the track can't be bigger than a car, basically, fit in a garage kind of thing. We're going to run Scholastic cars, so the specs were simple too. I think something like that would be even if you didn't try to synchronize live like we did, which had its own technical issues, of course. Just trying to do anything like that on a larger scale would just be, I'm a big old hell to the no kind of guy on that one. But if somebody happen, I'll go pull a trigger on it, but I'm not going to have anything to do with making it happen. That is for darn sure.
No, I don't think a single person can put that together. That's got to be like a company that, slot it says, here's the track layout, here's my preferred vendors for America, for Europe, for wherever. It could be done. It's just whether or not there's any investment to pay off at the end.
Exactly. Lots of things that could be done.
Don't let the cloud blow up. Yeah.
Like Jeremy was saying, it's going to take a team, to really pull it off. Team of people and a bunch of money to even just to promote it, right? And you got to have some clout to get enough, people around the world to want to participate, rather than just say, if you want to participate, come here, like they do now. So yeah, go for it.
Okay. Food for thought.
Food for thought.
I think if the rewards were there for slot car racing, then you might get a bit more of, if there was I don't know, I'm not thinking prize money, but I'm thinking either major accolade or sponsorship. If you could win yourself sponsorship. But again, you're right, Greg, it is all about money.
Yeah, the event that I'm talking about had prizes for the winners.
Did it?
Some people got, multiple Scorpius controllers. Some people got one Scorpius controller. Scorpius was a sponsor of the event, you could say.
Yeah.
A couple other sponsors, cars as prizes. I got a Scholastic car for where I placed. There were prizes,
Yeah. And why do you think it didn't run consistently and still grow?
Digital, right? So it was already a very limited field of potential racers.
Yeah.
Limit it even more by who of that niche of the niche would want to participate in such a thing, then who has the ability to set up the track in order to participate. Just all those things added up. I think maybe there were 4 tracks around the world, if even. Weren't a whole lot.
Yeah.
It was a fun thing that, proved it could be done, and certainly could be done again or at a larger scale, or, it wasn't, the system so much. I mean, these days, I know that PC Lap Counter has a way to upload things to a web host of some sort. I'm pretty sure Race Coordinator either has a local thing. It's got a local thing that you could probably figure out a way to pipe that over to somewhere else. But
Lapmaster can do that too.
Master, yeah. So there's the apps that are out there to do it, and if not,
Yeah, the appetite is.
I've got a question for Wayne.
Hi.
I was watching saw something YouTube about a 3-hour of Bahrain on a plastic track.
Interesting, you should bring that up. Yeah.
And were you racing in it?
I wanted to. I planned to. I prepared a car. I even purchased a controller, which I don't know. Which is the first time I put it off for a long time, because I was always hoping that the last generation SCP2 would become Oxygen 4 compatible, but it never has done. So I finally bit the bullet and bought a second SCP, the SCP3, so that I could provide all the equipment for that and future races, all the equipment. And I had a teammate that pulled out because he had a girlfriend who was demanding that he went out on the town with her instead.
No. Well, all you need to say is because he had a girlfriend. You don't have to say any more.
Well, right. That's what that was, and I pulled all the strings. I must have contacted about 10 different people just to try and find one to join me to do that 3-hour race, and I failed.
Oh dear!
So I didn't go.
All right. The question that I was going to ask was, I was watching that, and what kind of cars were those? Because they looked really slow.
Now, the reason that they're really slow is not to do with the cars, it's to do with the voltage they ran the race at. I don't know what voltage they ran the race at, but you're not the only person to have noted that.
Okay.
In fact, I could bring this topic to the table myself by saying, have you ever seen slot car racing being promoted to the public and it getting a massively negative response? And that, unfortunately, the clips of that video of that race that are on Facebook have drawn some incredibly vicious, I would say, responses.
Wow.
And it's the first time I've ever noticed slot car racing video clips that have gathered that kind of response. I mean, there are simple ones that's like, why are you running them so slowly? But then there are other ones that say, here are 8 virgins racing slot cars. They obviously haven't got wives. They haven't got and it's like, wow, it's awful.
Yeah.
I need to know.
So to answer your question, there is a range of vehicles that you can choose from, range of brands. It's intended to be, that what you were watching was GT4 racing, and it's intended to be a gateway drug. It's an easy entry. There is no requirement for lights in the body shells. This is no darkness racing. You are not allowed to use any car with a motor pod, except for some of the SCX cars that have a very basic motor pod system. But the SCX cars won't carry the motor that is mandated, because SCXs have got those RX motors, and the motor that's mandated is a Mabushi FC130 S-Cam. And it's a 20,000 RPM motor. It comes from Pendle Slot Racing. And it's very, very, very similar to a stock Scalextric 18K. and there is a fixed gear ratio of 3-1 or whatever was supplied in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes with a taller gear ratio than 3-1 in standard form. You
Sure.
can get them lower, but you can't get anything taller.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a handout tyre and a wheel diameter regulation, which pretty much puts everybody on the same size wheels and tyres.
Okay.
Net result of all that is they all pretty much go the same speed. It is so much effort to try and find a tiny little bit of advantage in terms of straight line speed. But if you had one, if you could have gleaned one on that circuit based on the size of that circuit, then you would have been quids in, you would have been laps ahead.
Yeah.
Because it looked to me like the whole event was about straight line speed.
Yeah.
Because it ran so slowly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've watched it, and I've watched drivers I know very well. I can see their fingers in certain video clips, and and I know which cars they're driving because I'm familiar with their body colours and whatnot. And yeah, unfortunately, I'm kind of now not so upset about the fact that I missed it, because I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much as other events that we've done with the same cars.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt momentarily here. I found the thread on Slot Forum that talks about the Battle of Bahrain Discus GT4 endurance event this past week.
I haven't looked at that, Greg.
Okay, well, you can look at it later, but you mentioned videos. Nobody on the forum posted videos, and I looked on Facebook using that name of the event and can't find anything. I can't find anything on YouTube. Do you remember who posted or what page?
Yeah. Yeah. It's it might be a closed group. It's Derby HO Racing Club.
Okay.
Derby to us.
Derby to you guys, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Now, I don't. Yeah, when we race those cars at the club that's local to me, the circuit is a lot smaller than the Bahrain one, and it might have been an accident, but I inquired. It was towards the end of the race or after the race, what voltage we'd been running on, what the power supply was set on, and I found out that we'd been running on 13.5 volts, and that makes those cars pretty tasty.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I honestly don't know what the voltage was at Derby. I mean, obviously nobody that competed came away and felt that disappointed. But as you look at it, that's one of the ones. Wow. You can see how these cars come down the straight circuit.
Oh my goodness.
See what I mean?
That's ridiculous. Okay, let's see what this one looks like.
That one's demonstrating a rear wing that flipped up. Don't quite know how that was done, but that's what that was doing. See it flip back down?
Yeah.
Only the one car did it, I think. But it's clever.
It's DRS.
Yeah.
Those cars were going down the straight at full speed, and they looked like.
Yeah, that was the first thing that hit me. Was
You see, this one
goodness.
doesn't look half as bad. They actually look reasonably quick from that vantage point.
You're only seeing the turns.
Now hold on.
Exactly.
In fairness, you don't have to go
There you
fast to have fun, though.
No, you don't. But
When you reach top speed halfway down the straight.
oh no, it would have been about a third, I would think.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, this is a good one to watch. I was looking at that thinking, did somebody slow this down, or is this a parade lap maybe?
No, we're like before the race because it's a rolling start or something.
No, it was a go.
It's actual speed.
I mean, people still crash, so there's still a race.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes they crash more when the cars are slow because they're pushing it too hard.
Yeah.
my personal take on this is that when the cars go fast, you can back off a lot further away from the corner. and they will carry their momentum into the
Yeah.
corner.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're running really, really slowly, then you're backing off 3 straight pieces from the corner. And it seems to get more and more critical to maintain, to actually have the correct speed in the corner. You've got to back off within, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches of the same spot every time. Whereas if the car's fast and you back off a tiny bit early, you can always give it another little push to get to the corner. And I quite like the extra bit of speed.
Or turn your brakes down to maintain speed better.
Okay, but just remember, as in real racing, anyone can drive a fast car fast. Not everybody can drive a slower car quickly.
Everyone can drive a fast car fast. My experience in this is that
But not
when
for
the
long.
voltage gets turned up,
Yeah.
the queen rises to the top.
Yeah.
And anyone can put their foot down in a straight line. It takes no talent whatsoever.
No, that's right. But the gaps open up as you turn up the voltage. As the cars go faster and faster, the gaps get bigger.
All racing comes down to curves. That's why Porsches kick the butts of larger displacement cars.
And that might be the very reason why they kept the voltage as low as they did. And I happen to know that the result after 3 hours between the top 2 teams was 3 laps. So that's a lap an hour difference between them. I don't know what the reason for that was, whether one of them streaked off and then had a problem, or whether it was excessive driver changes, but the net result was very close race.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That was the result, right?
And that's fair's fair. It's just that it's done exactly the same thing for Dennis as it did for a lot of people on Facebook that wrote nasty things and said.
Yeah, and I was not trying to be derogatory about it. I was just curious.
Yeah.
No, you
one
weren't.
of the guys that I
listen,
contacted to try and join me said to me, he's not at all enthralled by the GT4 class that he's seen. What he's seen of it doesn't impress him. He doesn't therefore want to do it. He could have done it.
Listen, everybody gets brave behind a keyboard. Okay, so
yeah. But it's the first time I've seen it, because most of the time when you see, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still comments there where people say, there are 7 cars running on Carrera there. How the heck are you doing that? Because Carrera only runs 6. There would have been the 8. There could have been 15. No, there couldn't, because there aren't enough rostrum positions for that. I think they capped that at 10 because of rostrum positions.
Okay.
But
tell them it was done with telekinesis. That's
No, it was done with oxygen. It's done with slotted oxygen, the same system that we always use.
Use the force, Luke.
But yeah, it looks slow, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the video that I last showed from that kind of showed the whole track there had 141 comments.
And a lot of those ones are positive.
Sure, some of
It's
them.
It's the one where the drivers are all in view when the cars are coming towards the camera. That's the one that got all the nasty comments.
Welcome to the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah.
Honestly, it's the only time I've seen that kind of thing, and it's quite shocked me actually to see. Anyway, that's that.
Honestly, we have more fun with our little bug-eyed sprites around our track than anything else, and they're not that quick. They're just
don't get me wrong. I can fully enjoy a very slow slot car race. I can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As it's close.
Just doesn't excite it's just not exciting to the eye. That's all.
It's like anything else. It's like drinking wine. You start off with a Riesling and eventually you go dry as your tastes sort of refine.
And then when you get to be a big boy, you can drink red.
Exactly. That's what you progress to. Exactly right.
And that tastes like vinegar, I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
A lot of those negative comments, maybe coming from people who watch other racing videos, and there's such a contrast.
Or folks who simply weren't invited, John.
Could be that. Or weren't they?
It really should be. It really should be put out there more, because that event being aimed at should we call it non-existing disca racers, really should have had a few more entries from a few more rookies. There was, I can see rookies on that podium, but not many. Most of the attendees are, you know, fully capable Disca racers that should be probably be racing one of the GT3 or Le Mans World Endurance Championship classes.
Yeah.
It said it was the 3 hours of Bahrain. Obviously, wasn't in Bahrain, was it?
No,
No, it was on the
No,
Bahrain
it was the
track.
Bahrain circuit, Lenny.
It's based on the Bahrain circuit. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was in Derby.
that's what I
And that's
thought.
quite fun that they do that, because they do a lot of that they will set up tables and set up different tracks. And always a copy of something, some
That
full-size
club in
track.
particular, that club has got an arsenal of circuits that must be over 100, and they come round biannually,
Yeah.
and they're all based on real circuits, either current or past.
Yeah.
You should see the Brazilian one. What's that called? Interlagos.
Interlagos. Yeah.
The old Interlagos.
Oh, the old one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's astonishing. I
Like
can't. It's
bowl
not
of
their
spaghetti.
longest.
Yeah.
But they even do Monaco, and that is so Nigerian and small. But it's just a different and unique challenge. Most of the circuits I've got are actually HO based, which makes them, you know, even bigger if you think about the size of the cars by comparison. That one there was made for 32 scale cars. They haven't got all the tracks in 32 scale, but yeah.
Can I?
So-
Time to finish.
I'm gonna hit the mute button if I don't. All right, it's the top of the hour. I'm gonna stop the live stream. Everybody wave bye until next week. Bye. Bye.
Thanks, guys. It was fun talking to you all. We'll see you next week.
Wait, Dennis,
Happy
wait.
Thanksgiving.
Wait,
Happy Thanksgiving,
Any-
everyone.